Hey, it's James from All Hail Internal Combustion. We are getting back on the 305, about to put the other cylinder head on. Just wanted to go through the process with y'all, just in case some of y'all haven't done this before. When you're about to put a cylinder head on, one of the first things I always check is which one of these head bolt holes goes into a water passage, if they do, on the kind of block you're working on. On Chevys, the 262 to 400, most of them go into a water passage, which means the head bolt is going to require sealant. So what you can do is you can get yourself a screwdriver. That's going all the way into a water jacket. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. Then you've got 8 along the bottom that all go into water jackets. They need thread sealant. These 4 up at the top do not go into a water jacket, so we don't need to put thread sealant on those. What we do need to do is just put a little tiny drop of oil on the threads to keep them from galling up, and a little tiny bit underneath the head of the bolt when we put it on. So now that we know that, I've already got my head bolts cleaned up and they're dry. So now we're on to the head gasket. These are Fel-Pro Blues. On a small block Chevy, these head gaskets will pretty much go any way you put them on the engine. Some of them will have something marked front, up, down. Make sure you check your head gaskets depending on what engine you're working on, because like the 302 that we're building, they have an orientation for their head gasket so you don't goof up and put it on the wrong way and potentially block off a water passage. On Chevys, you just have to be careful if you're dealing with a 400 to make sure that your head gasket has the little steam holes in it to be able to let the block cool better. So we've got 2 dowel pins on here. Go ahead and put our head gasket on. Look through the head gasket, make sure all your holes are open. And I checked it with the other side. I flipped it over both ways just to verify that this is the right orientation for the gasket. My deck surface is clean. I came in with compressed air and blew all out around the pistons because I left this as an assembled short block while I was doing all the other work on it. So I don't want any grit or grime or anything like that down in the cylinders when I put it back together. So blew everything out, cleaned everything up. Cylinder head's clean, so I'm going to go ahead and grab it. And of course these are cast iron cylinder heads, because I'm not putting aluminum ones on a 305. And what you want to do is you want to let your head find the dowel pin and not pinch your shirt in it at the same time and give it a little press down. Now I've still got some cleanup work to do with the red paint up in this area, but that doesn't have anything to do with me putting heads on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a bolt down at the bottom just in case this gets bumped into, that way the head doesn't decide to jump off and hit the floor, because that could potentially suck. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my head bolts, and these are the short ones that go along this bottom edge. Bring you guys around so you can see the bottom edge. That would be nice. But yeah, you have all short ones here. You have long ones that go up into the head, except for the 2 on the very outside. They're a little bit shorter. But as we know, all these are going to need thread sealant. This lower row here is going to need thread sealant. And then the 4 up at the top aren't. So let me go ahead and dress my bolts. And when you're putting thread sealant on, you don't need to get crazy with it. Dip it in. Clean my brush off because I don't need a ton of it on here. I don't start down at the bottom of my threads. I come up a little bit and just put a nice line of it on there. It doesn't need to be thick. You don't need to cover the entire series of threads with it. Just make sure that you've got some on there, so when it gets put into the block, it's actually sealed. So this one's ready to go in. Now I have 13 more to do, since the Chevy has 17 head bolts. So I'm going to cut the camera off, put pipe sealant on the rest of these, or thread sealant, and I'll bring you back. Okay, now it's time to torque the head down. Look your torque specs up in a book or online. Just be careful what you find online. I assume that Chevys are all around 60, 65 foot-pounds on the head bolts. It's been that way for a long time. I happen to type in 305 Chevy head bolt torque, and the little thing that pops up on the top that says, you know, AI recommended or whatever, for a 305 Chevy, it told you to torque your head bolts to 90 foot-pounds. That's wrong. I'll see if I can fit that picture into the video somehow. I'm still kind of getting used to this whole editing thing, even though I've been doing this for 3 years, but I'll try and put that picture in there. So don't believe everything that you read. You get a parking violation and a maggot on your sleeve. That's a different song. But yeah, don't believe anything. Double check, triple check. Summit has a lot of torque spec information on their website, as do a lot of the engine building companies. So get 3 references. That's probably what you want to go with. When you're torquing down heads or any big components, you want to take it in steps. I've already done 25, 45. This is going to be my 65. You want to follow a pattern. So on a Chevy, I'm starting here on the center bolt, and I'm going to spiral my way till I get to the outside. So start here in the middle. $65. It'd be nice if the stand stood still. And this will be my last 2. Alright, so that's it for torquing the heads. Done with my torque wrench now. Remember, whenever you're done with your torque wrench, take it back to 0 when you store it. Next I have to put push rods in and rocker arms on. This engine's getting a brand new set of push rods because it didn't come with push rods. So I bought a set. Normally on your older push rods, you'll see a little shiny spot where the push rod has wore against the, I guess it would be like a retainer that's machined into the head to keep the push rod from moving all over the place. there'll be a shiny spot. I usually put them back in the same spot. But since these are brand new push rods, they don't have anything like that. So I've got some assembly lube in my hand. I'm going to go ahead and run the push rod in. Make sure it's sitting in the cup of the lifter. And go ahead and do the same thing for all these. Will I speed it up? Will I not speed it up? I don't know. I'll edit the video later. This could be some, is it ANSR kind of crap or whatever, but I'm talking over it, so I completely destroyed that premise. Like I said, just make sure your push rods are sitting down in your lifter cups. Alright, now I'm going to wipe out my hand and get the rocker arms. Alright, so this is one of the rocker arms out of the engine. Turn the light on here. If I could hit the button with my pinky. There we go. Alright, so stamped steel Chevy rocker arm. This one has the notch in it for the later engines to keep it centered on the valve stem. The older ones didn't have this. They just kind of rolled off because the push rod's responsible for keeping this true to the valve stem. So obviously this is in 89. So back in 86 through 95, they either had roller or non-roller blocks. I guess they decided just to make one type of rocker arm and use it on all the engines, because it technically doesn't need this kind since the push rods are guided by the heads. I got that oiled up. I put some assembly lube on the ball. Drop that in there. Go ahead and put it down onto the stud. It was also missing some of the rocker arm nuts, so I ordered 8 new ones of those. I can't do nothing because my hands are all slippery. Okay, wipe my hands off, grab a wrench, and these are 5/8 bolts, so we're going to make sure that is started on there. And we're just going to bring it down. Now I'm not adjusting the valves right now because I want to be able to take the engine off the stand so I can clean up the rear main seal area, get an oil pan on it, and I actually want to prime this engine before I spin it over a bunch and start adjusting valves on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tighten this up enough that when I spin the engine upside down, that the push rod won't fall out of it. That's good right there. Okay, so that's where I'm going to end it on this video. I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of my rocker arms in, doing the same thing, lubing it up, oiling the rocker arm, assembly lube, and then on the next video when we come back, this will be off the stand, getting the rear main seal cleaned up, getting that put back on, getting the oil pan put back on. We'll dump some oil in this thing, use our priming tool, and set the valves. So, see y'all next time. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, thanks for watching me build a crappy 305. All hail internal combustion. See you on the next one.